because what I was originally going to do, was thinking about for right now, was just kind of doing the Lord's Prayer. And I've done little pieces of other, but it's all part of the Sermon on the Mount. And so I decided I'd just do the series on the Sermon on the Mount, just take care of it all at one time. Okay. So now, for those who may or may not be familiar with, how many are familiar with the Beatitudes?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That's the beginning of the Sermon on the Mount. And then he goes on and it gives other things, and it talks about the Lord's Prayer, and it talks about murder, adultery, some of those things are akin to the Ten Commandments we did before. And it goes on and talks about, attitudes when people are persecuting us or when people are judging against us, how to kind of receive that. There are a couple different resources I'm using to do this with, and one of them is Emmett Fox's book on it, and a couple of the newer versions of interpretations of it. But we're going to kind of blend that together, and we'll see the length of time. So, for those who may or may not have actually ever seen or read them, I've got for you the copy of the Sermon on the Mount. And this is from Bible Gateway. It's printed out. I've got it in two versions. I've got it's Matthew chapters 5 and 7. And it's actually, I did from the Living Bible and from NIV.
Might be somebody coming in.
Okay. And in actuality, okay.
You're such a giving person.
You get one of your copies. Bible Gateway is an online Bible source. It has many different versions of the Bible out there. And one of the things they have is an audible version that you can pull up, and they will actually read the scriptures to you. The full and normal reading speed, and I was listening to it kind of as I was coming out, so I was putting my earbuds in, and I was re-listening to it and timing it. The Sermon on the Mount timing for the reading of it was a little under 15 minutes. But many scholars consider this kind of the essence of truth principles as demonstrated by Jesus Christ. The essence of Jesus' message of how we are to be. Starting out with the Beatitudes and those things. But was delivered, could be read, listened to in 15 minutes. Now, probably it wasn't actually delivered in a 15-minute segment. It probably was delivered over some time and in days and all. But if you sat down and went through, and normal reading speed, less than 20 minutes, you could get it. You could read it. Getting it, being it, doing it, that's our life work. That's a whole different story. So we're going to kind of walk through and talk about the Beatitudes and what they mean, how they mean, and what they do. I want to mention a little piece from something that Emmett Fox says, because he's talking about it as being kind of the spiritual key, this being one of the spiritual keys to understanding spirituality, our beingness, our oneness. The truth turns out to be nothing less than the amazing but undeniable fact that the whole outer world, whether it be the physical body, the common things of life, the winds and the rain, the clouds, the earth itself, is amenable to a man's thoughts, and that he has dominion over it when he knows it. The outer world, far from being the prison of circumstances that it's commonly supposed to be, has actually no character whatsoever of its own, either good or bad. It has only the character that we give it by our own thinking. It is naturally plastic to our thoughts, and this is so whether we know it or not, and whether we wish it or not. All day long, the thoughts that occupy your mind, your secret place, as Jesus calls it, are modeling your destiny for good or evil. In fact, the truth is that the whole of our life's experience is but the outer expression of our inner Psalms. That's kind of some of the things from his introductory to the Sermon on the Mount, from his book from that. But let's kind of think about this. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to do this as a series, and so we're going to kind of take the time to walk through, but I just want to do it overview and introduction today. So the Sermon on the Mount has several parts, starting, like I said, with the Beatitudes. And if you look at the gateway on the NIV section, the sections are labeled. It's the Beatitudes, then it talks about salt and light, the fulfillment of law, murder, adultery, divorce, oaths, eye for an eye, love for enemies, giving to the needy, prayer, fasting, treasures in heaven, do not worry, scary one, hard one, judging others, ask, seek, knock, the narrow and wide gates, true and false prophets, the wise and foolish builders. Now those are kind of innocuous titles, maybe. Just reading the titles doesn't necessarily mean anything or doesn't give you much hint sometimes. Some of them, murders, give a pretty clear picture. Adultery, fairly good picture. Eye for an eye, maybe. Love for enemies, you may have a picture of them, but you may say, yeah, right. Oaths, divorce, in this day and age, we got a pretty good picture of that one. Prayer, we may have an idea. Fasting, not necessarily. We don't do much teaching or talking about that. Treasures in heaven, vague. Because we got to figure out what heaven is, where heaven is, and what treasures and all those things. Do not worry. That one, my first thought, is easier said than done. Judging others, well, that just kind of comes with the territory.
That's fun.
That's what, okay. Ask, seek, knock. The narrow and wide gates, true and false prophets, true and false disciples, wise and foolish builders. Those get into kind of things like, okay, what are you talking about? But we're going to walk through that and look at that. And again, not from the outer world, but from our inner thoughts and how they manipulate, how they build, how they shape our outer world. We say in our thing that we teach truth principles as demonstrated by Jesus Christ. Well, here's we're going to get into some of those truth principles that he taught as in the Sermon on the Mount, and how are they living, breathing parts of our lives, or how do we encompass them to become living, breathing, functioning parts of our lives. Okay? Are we game? Okay.
We're in.
We're in. Okay. And like I said, so this is going to be kind of a work in progress as we talk through things. So, several people raised their hands when I asked them who had heard of the Beatitudes. When's the last time anybody read them?
It's been a while.
Been a while. That's the reason I kind of nice to get you to go copy here. So it says, now when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up into the mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him and he began to teach. Blessed are the poor in spirits, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. What are your first thoughts when you hear or see that?
I don't know. I don't want to be poor in spirit.
Exactly. I don't want to be poor, period. In the sentence there. Poor in spirit. Ron, you were about to say
I
something?
wanted to say that's a hard one.
That's a hard one.
Well, I think it's kind of an all-inclusive thing, because most people are kind of poor in spirit.
Okay.
That includes everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We all are.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Let's take a step back before we kind of delve exactly into that one. As I said, the Beatitudes are the attitudes we should have, or would work to our higher good if we could adopt those kinds of attitudes. So he says, bless, and all of them start out in blessed, as giving a blessing for something. And yeah, the poor in spirit sounds kind of like a negative, right? So it sounds like it's saying it's good to be down in the dumps.
But if you look at it another way, poor in spirit to me is not being haughty or not being egotistical or not being, you know, you can, from being here in unity, I truly believe that you can have everything that you want, the niceties of life, but you don't have to be a Trump about it.
Yeah.
Okay? You don't have to be a Trump about it. I mean, you can enjoy it, you can have it, you can share it with others if you choose, but you don't have to have that attitude.
Yeah.
Okay. But when we hear the words, you know, poor in spirit, it can be interpreted many different ways. So it could be that we can be assured of who we are without flaunting it. It could be, when I grew up thinking of it as, well, if I'm down in the dumps, I got some rescue because the kingdom of heaven is mine. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So if I'm down in the dumps, but that always left me kind of with this question of, okay, when?
I'm looking at this, and you've been reading from the New International Version, but the Living Bible version translates that poor in spirit as humble. And that's
That's what
going
Lord
to
is
exactly
saying.
what
That's what
Lord
Lord
is
is
saying.
saying. Humble men are very fortunate. He told them, for the kingdom of heaven is given to them. The old King James version of it, blessed and poor in spirit, but the heaven, I'm thinking, okay, it's fine, but I don't get over this till I get to heaven. And the fall by and by someday.
Right.
But it says, the Living Version says it's given to them. So if something's given to me, I can get it now. It's been given to me.
Yeah, it's that idea of humility.
That idea of humility.
I'm my worst enemy.
Many of us are.
Yeah.
Many of us are. But that humble in spirit or poor in spirit, substitute the word humble versus poor. Does that feel better?
Yes.
So blessed are the humble in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. That's the reason I gave you the Living Bible, because it does actually give it a little more positive spin on some of those scriptures sometimes. So blessed are the humble in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, and not some far off times in the goodbye and bye on the other shore kind of thing. Because the Bible says it is given to them. Why does it take a humble spirit to receive the kingdom of heaven? First of all, we got to figure out what kingdom of heaven is. What is that? What is that to you?
Because I'm not going to see the kingdom of heaven unless I do it in my own hands.
Kingdom of
All
heaven.
the time.
Kingdom of heaven. Let's think about just for your own self. What would be some attributes of heaven? Love,
Peace,
peace,
Bliss.
bliss,
Good health.
good health,
No pain.
no pain. So if I'm humble in spirit, I get to have those things. And it's given to me not when I die, when I go to the other shore, when I'm in the great by and by. I can have that now. By being by humbling, by getting out of here and coming here. So our spirit sometimes when we're thinking about that, the haughtiness, the Trumpisms, is that I'm all that in a bag of chips and you can't tell me and I'm going to take your chips too. And so when we're actually stopping to think about it and observe that I am, and just leaving it at that. I am.
Nothing else is necessary.
Nothing else is necessary. And if I am, then I can choose how to see, to be, to interpret whatever. I can choose to beat up myself about it, or I can choose to have the peace about it, the bliss about it. I can choose to look at it. He said it doesn't shake, it's plastic to us, it's not good or evil, unless we assign it that. So I can make those choices when I bring myself down to think about it. As long as I'm in, let's think of it as there's somebody out there doing something to me. Picking on, pulling on me. Abusing, misusing me. I'm a victim of whatever they're doing to me. And why are they doing that to me? What does that get us?
Unhappy.
Unhappiness, no bliss, no joy, no peace, no good health. That gets us a headache, because gets us our nerves up, gets our stomachs upset. But I can choose to see that in a different way. So let's try to take some practical things here. Anybody got an example of something that has been unhappy that you might want to share? Or we can talk about it.
How long do you have?
We said we're doing a series. I shared in Nicholas about my coworker that's retiring, deciding to retire. And my first thing was, you gonna leave me here with all these newbies? So I was being dumped. All these, because she's been helping me do the training and the onboarding of all these new staff people. You jumping them in all in my lap. So I got the pulpit for me on that one. And even when, after I said, have you told Adrian? He said, no, I needed to call you. I was going to call you and talk to you about it first. My first thing was, okay, I know your birthday's September. When you plan to do it? September 3rd. Oh, please give me the October. Please give me the October. Just give me one more month, before you leave me. I got into the pulpit for me. Let's look at it in a different way. I could have looked at that. Help Linda see that in a different way. Now, Linda got to a different place and she said some stuff to her in that same conversation. But I went there first. And then I worked my way to the, okay, I'm glad for you. I did get there, but I worked my way there. So y'all help me figure out how I could work my way there less than the 5 minutes it took me to get there on the phone call.
Well, I mean, again, you said pulpit for me. In my mind, you can say like, okay, and don't get me wrong, I don't go to it all the time. Okay, I've heard that God doesn't give me more than I can bear. So the fact that she's leaving, that's her journey. That's fine. I help people who need my help and need my training. And like I said, as humans, we don't go there first thing. We just don't do it. That's not part of our ingrained information. When I was coming up, it's like you're a Baptist, everything's gonna happen to you. God is gonna punish you. You get that.
Don't be good.
Yeah. So
If you do this, he's watching you.
So as humans, it was not part of my upbringing. I know. So I'm working my way through this journey to this in order to be able to do it for myself. I can't do it for anyone else, but I in order to be able to do it for myself.
When I let someone, when I become the victim, what I'm doing is transferring that person to be my God.
You're giving them power over you.
Yeah, exactly.
They're in control of your life, your feelings, your emotions, your day, your year, your whatever. And you give it up. And sometimes sometimes I don't want to be in charge of Linda. Sometimes it's easier to just throw it off on somebody else, hey, taking the responsibility for some of the stuff. Sometimes I don't, there's some things in this life I don't really want to be responsible for. I don't, if I have to take ownership of it, then that means, ooh, I really did do that? I really did create that?
One of the things I've grown in is if I'm in a situation where like that where someone I have some kind of relationship with and they're doing something that's going to be a void, I guess, like with you. First thing I try to do is, instead of, like you said, thinking about how it's going to affect you, just initially just be happy for them, that they made some life decision for them that they're happy about. And then it kind of takes you away from thinking about yourself, I think.
And it, that's kind of the way I went to it with Ken. I understand, because her and her daughter. I mean, they literally. She has a single one child, and her child has two girls, and expecting the third one in January, like I said. And they literally live a block and a half from them. And so she has her grandbabies every afternoon. Doing this changing between daughter and son-in-law's shifts, and all she is grandmom and all. And with the new baby, she's going to be even more involved, and she loves that. And I know this is going to be, that she's going to be able to fully dedicate to, being granny. It's going to be wonderful for her. But yeah, and so I had to go there and say, this is going to be good for you. And she just came back from, she got back a week and a half ago now, from Paris. For a wedding. She was going for 10 days to France for a wedding, for a friend's wedding. And I went, yeah, see, you left me, you went to France. And now you come back and tell me you're leaving me, period. Going off, one of the things she said from that was that going and spending that time, that she was absolutely, totally away from work and doing things and enjoying herself. She realized she wants to be able to do be able to be retired and do stuff and enjoy it for herself. And she wants to do while her health is to that point that she can do those things. And so I had to go there with it. But my first thought was, I'm still with all
You're
these.
ready to leave.
No, you're leaving me. I'm still with these knuckleheads.
I hate to say it, but you have an opportunity for growth.
Yes, yes. And so I have to look at that. So the humble in spirit is where we kind of come back in and stop seeing it as some damage being done to me. And so that's then where we can then start seeing those attributes of heaven in that situation, and whatever situation we may present ourselves. And it takes a minute to do that sometimes. It's not necessarily always our automatic response. There's some things we can go there really quickly, and some things it takes a minute to get there. You said in relationships where there's going to be a void. Divorce is one of those topics, but if we're separating, if we're doing, if we're on, or in empty nest syndrome when the twins finally leave the house. Yay! You say that now. But those are things that we do have that does, kind of shake us. There are things that happen in our life, a doctor's report or something, will shake us from time to time, and we have to get ourselves to that point again that we can see the good, the God in whatever, and get ourselves back in alignment with that.
Just one thought. When you're in the throes of any kind of, you view it as negative situation, it's a version of hell. It's not heaven.
Yeah, but
And the idea is to move through it as quickly as possible. But the humanity of us, we have to work through it.
right, yeah,
And that's perfectly normal, but do it as quickly
It's
as possible. And you don't want to stay in hell.
yes, yes. And that's the reason the Beatitudes, Jesus' teaching on the Mount was about those steps, those processes of moving through. And he says heaven is given to him. So even though I'm poor in spirit, even if we think about it from the negative side, because I'm there, I can see the promise of heaven. I can see the promise of that peace, of that wholeness, I may not be there right now. It may not feel like it at the moment, but I can see it, and therefore I can move from this place to that place in my thoughts, because I've got to first move my thoughts. Because as long as I'm staying in hell in here, everything I see out there, we're talking about that outer world, it's still going to look like, feel like, taste like, smell like hell. We've got to be able to figure out how to see it in here, how to calm that raging voice, that raging heart, those raging emotions. That's becomes that Holy Spirit, that humble, quieting them down,
Fear.
overcoming that fear of, I'll never these folks here. I gotta do my never him. The fear of whatever that, because for it to have hit us and to have hurt us, it hit some place that we didn't feel whole in. It hit some place that there was some room for growth in, because it's some vacuum, not necessarily vacuum, but some place that's not healed, is not at its God highest level in us. And that thing hit that. It was the sword in the heart right at that point. And so that shows us that's that place that needs to be healed. And if we can bring ourselves down to that, then we can start looking for and finding some minuscule, maybe just a very, very minuscule piece of it at a time. We take that and we build on it. The mountain is many, many grains of sand built over time. We can build it. We can take, and remember those projects you did in school where you made the volcano? And they erupted and those things there? You spent a night, you spent a week, whatever, and depending on how studious and how apt you were, whether you started making a volcano a week beforehand, making all the one, or you made it the night before. But it took some time to build it up to that place. Whether that was 10 minutes, 45 minutes, 2 hours, but it took some time to get it to build to that place from that first scoop of whatever it was you made your volcano out of. And that's the same thing with us in our heart and our heaven things. We're building to that heaven gates. And the whole thing with the Sermon on the Mount is to talk through as we look at life situations, examining them and seeing them from our Christ mind. And that's the series we're going to kind of work through over the next, how long we decide to take to work through it. Is this something we think we're going to be good at?
Oh, yeah. Looking forward to it.
Okay. So, for the poor in spirit, heaven is at hand. And we're going to be this God-centered, God-natured place. Sermon on the Mountain. You have your copies, and we're going to do some outlines of things. And we're going to work through how we are to live these things in our daily life and incorporate them. The Bible, a lot of times, for many people, is on a desk somewhere, it's on a table stand somewhere. Many of us have taken it totally out of the house because it's been used to harm. And y'all have always known that for me, I want us to see